cut my face while shaving. I don't think it's visible, but if it is, please don't comment about it, because I will cry. It's sports season, baby. England lost the Euros, Djokovic lost Wimbledon, and Max Verstappen has lost his mind.
Did you leave the cars yet?
I think you were behind at the apex, Max.
Okay, whatever then.
But an event more important than all of that has wrapped up, and that's the Olympics. Now, if you don't know what the Olympics is, then why are you here? Because you must be like just a baby. Go watch Skibbity Toilet. This ain't Skibbity Toilet. But if you are a little Skibbity Toilet baby, then that means you probably missed out on playing what I genuinely think is one of the greatest games of all time, and possibly the best representation of the Olympics ever. Published by Nintendo for the Wii, perfectly utilizing motion controls. It's none other than it's Wii Sports. I don't know why I'm doing this Mario and Sonic bit. You're at the top. It's Wii Sports today. Now, Wii Sports is the best ever selling single platform game of all time, and the 4th overall if you include multi-platform games. It's huge, you've played it. Even if you don't think, I never owned a Wii before, you've played it. You played it, friend. You've played Wii Sports. And I think that Wii Sports, along with the Wii in general, has started to get somewhat of a bad rap these days. I think overall, it's still very beloved, but I think both the games and the console's reliance on motion controls has made people view the Wii as like a bad console, and that Wii Sports isn't a real game, and I really couldn't disagree more. The common criticism that you see is that it's all a gimmick, but my argument back to that would be, these are video games. They're all gimmicks. Everything, every game mechanic ever, it's all gimmicks. It's all just different gimmicks, and that's fine. Gimmicks are good. But I think the other thing that's important to remember is that when the Wii came out, not only were motion controls a brand new thing, but also pretty much so were wireless controllers. Yeah, we had stuff like the Wavebird for the GameCube and whatever the hell this thing is, but the Wii was the first console to have its out-of-the-box default controller be wireless. And now you're trying to tell me I can swing it around like a tennis record? Get out of here, future boy. I gotta be plugged in to play Vice City. But I tell you what's more surprising than maybe all of that is that the first game to utilize this controller ever might still be the best one. And it was free with the console. That would be the modern equivalent of if the PS5's only game that felt like it was properly using its dumbass new triggers was Astro's Playroom, when in reality we all know that a new Astrobot game comes out next month. That could do it. But here's the thing, we've got to talk about the best part of Wii Sports first, and that's not the controls, not even the sports. It's oh no way, baby. The Wii Sports soundtrack may very well be one of, if not the best soundtrack in all of gaming. I think this is just an objectively true statement. No one can prove me wrong. It is dangerous for music to be this good. Okay, the opening track is obviously iconic. We all know that opening intro. But what I think people forget is this bit where the guy starts going crazy on the synth. Yeah. A lot of the music just very nicely blends into the background, like the How to Play theme. It's casual and it's ambient, but it's not boring. Kazumi Totaka stumbled across the greatest riff in music history, that ba-ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum, and was like, yep, no matter how much I use this, it's not getting old. So it's in like basically every song in the game in some way, shape or form, but it never gets boring. It is literally always a joy to hear. The golf results screen sounds like what the first sip of a cold drink on a hot day feels like. It just makes you want to float away. Bowling feels like you've just been bowling with all your friends and now you're having a lovely post-match dinner, and it's also a sitcom intro. Whereas the boxing screen takes a completely different approach and decides to burn your house down with a beat that's built for freestyling. I strongly believe that some music makes you want to dance and some music makes you want to strut, and this is a strut. I think the music in Wii Sports is where so much of the identity and the memorability of the game comes from, and why it's really withstood today. They've just become that kind of iconic in internet culture that they will never go away. But I tell you what, they wouldn't exist without the sports. So let's talk about them. And of course, we're going to start with... I really think bowling is the sport in Wii Sports that I have put the most amount of time into. I am currently trying to bowl a perfect game, which is going really well. There we go. There we go. That's what we need. See, it's a proven formula. That it may look silly, they're throwing it out there like that, but I tell you, it's proven, it's tested, it works. Every time. I need to stop saying things like that. The perfect game score is 300 and my current best is around 200. So it's not ideal, but don't worry, I'm handling the whole thing extremely well. For f***'s sake! Why? The game has like something against me. There's some like it was coded so that anyone with this name, for it just to not, because that's the only answer. I am so consistently frame after frame after frame knocking down 9 pins. I don't know how it's happening. It doesn't feel like it should be this way, but I am almost as often trying to like hit 1 pin for a spare than actually aiming for a strike, because it's just 9 pins after 9 pins after 9 pins, and I don't know why it's happening. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. As far as I can tell, I'm doing it all right, and I'm just one little bit off every time. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's how the game should work. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the game's broken and that's why it's not working for me, because that would be insane. But I'm saying something's not right, and it's not me. However, despite the ensuing mental breakdown that it has caused within me, bowling's pretty good. I think it plays perfectly. It is so simple, just that. That's all it is. But it's flawless. That's all it needs to be. Trying not to like twist the controller when you're trying to bowl it straight feels like it has the exact perfect amount of sensitivity, and the same with the opposite when you're trying to kind of give it a bit of a twist. It works, but it feels right. It feels like you're in control of it. And then like holding down that back trigger and letting it go to send the ball flying, it just feels right. You can't imagine this game without it. It just feels absolutely perfect. It feels like you're really letting it fly. And it's also the cause of my favorite subcategory of natural selection. You know who loves golf? Curtis.
Oh yeah.
You know who doesn't love golf? This guy. I actually think golf's fine. It seems pretty good. I'm just bad at it. I'm real bad at it. And I'm somehow worse at it on games like this and Walkabout VR than I am at actual golf. Is that good golf form? I don't think that's good golf form. Curtis, when you're watching this before uploading it, can you just send me a message and tell me if this is good golf? That's real bad. I think this is one of 2 sports in Wii Sports, the other we'll get to later, that actually goes on to be improved in the future of the series just by like a small tweak, and that's the addition of this kind of rising bar that goes up the gauge to tell you how powerful your shot's going to be. That's not in Wii Sports, and it makes the game majority guesswork, because it will show you how hard your swing is while you're training, but it's tough to like actually remember, okay, this was the height I came to and this was how fast I swung it. It basically becomes somewhat of a gamble. You can always get it like know vaguely whereabout it's going to come, but it's difficult to get it as spot on as you really need it to a lot of the time. However, the thing is, that's kind of where the challenge comes in Wii Golf, because the challenge in the future games comes from that you have to keep your shot straight the same way that bowling works in Wii Sports. You have to try and not turn the controller, whereas Wii Sports Golf doesn't have that at all. It doesn't monitor whether you're curving your shot and whether it's a nice hit or not. All it's about is about that game. You may prefer one or the other. I think it's quite literally a case of different strokes for different folks. But despite that little gripe that I have with it, I think this remains an almost perfect version of video game golf. A golf game being motion controlled just makes so much sense. It's so natural and perfect. Again, it's just like bowling, where it pretty much just feels right to do. I think all the courses are well laid out. They're interesting. They each offer a kind of different challenge. I think it's all really good stuff. Overall, I reckon it's in the top 5 Wii Sports games.
Nice shot!
For all of my life, I have lived in the waking nightmare that is the United Kingdom. If you're American and you've never been here, just imagine if, you know, like when you go outside of the QZ in The Last of Us and it's all just terrible and bad. Now imagine if that was all compressed into one country that's the size of like a third of Texas. Oh, and we don't have baseball either. That was the point. The closest I've ever come to playing baseball outside of Wii Sports is the game Rounders, which I also don't know if you have in the US, but as far as I can tell, it is literally the exact same game as baseball, except whether or not you hit the ball, you swing one-handed, there's posts instead of like bases, and in Rounders, whether or not you actually hit the ball, you have to run. You gotta get running. They'll get you if you don't. You gotta run. Go now. They're gonna get you. The Rounders people, they're coming for you. Go. Ultimately, what I'm saying is I don't really care about baseball. I've got no attachment to it. The only player I could name is Mickey Mantle, and that's because of a string of both Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm references. So I think it says a lot that despite all that, I really like the baseball on Wii Sports. I think it's great fun. I have quite a few problems with it, but I think a lot of that comes down to me just being quite bad at it. I find batting can be pretty frustrating because there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm doing it right, but I'm just getting absolutely terrible results. And again, that is literally just like, that's just a skill issue. Call it a skill, comment, say skill issue, I don't care, I know it is. But like, it's not, I don't love that. But it is fun. That's a me thing. Batting is fun. I like the batting in it. I do think it is a real shame that when you're not the batting team, there's no way to play as like a, I want to say a catcher. Literally all you can do is bowl, pitch. You call it pitching. You can only just do that, and it gets pretty boring. You can put different tones on it and try and do whatever, but it's not that fun. There's no, they mercy ruled it during the first innings. I don't know what you call it, but when you hit a home run or an out of the park, it just feels so satisfying, which is very aided by the like little speaker that's in the Wii remote. You hit the ball, you hit a perfect ball, and it'll go like, oh, heaven. But I'll tell you what, just really bothers me about Wii Sports Baseball. The Mii's. The Mii's have such a bad attitude in this sport. You can hit what you think is an amazing shot, a sure home run, but it comes down within the ground. And there's some irritated Mii up the back who catches it perfectly, and if that wasn't bad enough, will then turn to look directly at the camera as if to say,
"You thought you could play here? You thought you could come and play against me? Nah, mate. Go home. Go home."
I hate it, and I hate them. Speaking of, taking a brief break from the sports, we're going to talk about the Mii's. Do you remember when everyone was trying to copy the Mii's after the success of the Wii and Wii Sports? And by everyone, I just mean Xbox. Which, fun fact, the Xbox's ripoff of Mii's, which I believe were just called Avatars, and the Xbox's ripoff of Wii Sports, which was called Kinect Sports, and is actually pretty good. But they were both developed by Rareware. So, isn't that sad? What became of them? It's fine, don't worry, they made Sea of Thieves after, they're all good. But the Mii's were the absolute perfect avatar for Wii Sports, and not just the Mii you'd make for yourself, but also the ones that you or your friends and family may make of themselves. Or Borat, you could make a Mii of Borat. I made a Mii of Borat. And let me just tell you, he's very good. But what's cool about the integration of Mii's on Wii Sports is it will look at all the Mii's that are on your system and will kind of populate the world of Wii Sports with them. They'll be on your team or on the opposite team in baseball. They'll be in the crowd in tennis. They will be behind you if you accidentally throw... Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. It just adds so much cool personality to it. It's like such a tiny little detail that I think it's nice. It's nice stuff. And it's also not just the Mii's that you make, but also genuinely just the default Mii's have so much charm and personality to them that one of them has gone on and become an iconic character in and of himself. The inclusion of your mentor Matt adds somewhat of a hidden storyline in the Wii Sports boxing mode. When you first start playing, you're in pretty small venues, doing small, low-level matches with low-level fighters. But as you progress and play more and get better, not only does the skill level of your opponent rise, but also does the size of the venue and arena that you're playing in. It feels like you're really progressing in your boxing career. And so as this is happening, you're probably going to want to pretty naturally check out the training modes, which as a whole, I'm going to talk about a bit more later, but for now I want to talk about the boxing one. In the boxing training modes, you get trained by mat, which is why one of the biggest both literal and metaphorical gut punches in gaming history comes from when you go pro, you've risen the ranks, and you play against your big opponent in your biggest arena yet. You finally have to face Matt. Boxing itself is the only sport in Wii Sports where you need to use this, the Wii nunchuck, and doesn't really work. I always forget that the nunchuck has motion control capabilities, and who can blame me, because this thing is so light, it feels like there's nothing in it. Now, I'm actually quite a big defender of the Wii nunchuck. I think it's awesome in games like Mario Galaxy, and it's like a little, I think it just works. I think it's pretty good for what it needs to be. It just adds an analog stick to the Wii remote. But for Wii Sports, man, this thing just doesn't work. The Wii remote's motion control is famously not amazing, but I think it works as well as it needs to in Wii Sports. Having to use this kind of kills the boxing mode for me. It's just so imprecise, and again, it feels totally weightless. Now, in the future games, they fix this by letting you play with 2 Wii remotes, like one in each hand, instead of having to use a nunchuck, and I think that works great. I wish you were able to do that in just original recipe Wii Sports. It's not the end of the world. It technically works, and boxing is still a great fun game mode. I just think it's really disappointing that it has to rely on this controller that's just not quite good enough for it. Like I say though, it's still super fun. I have a blast playing it, and the kind of career feeling aspect it has to it, it adds a whole bunch of depth to it, and it's really fun. Plus that result screen song, man, it's so good.
I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out.
It's the best one. Tennis is the best sport in Wii Sports. Everyone knows it. You've got ulterior motives if you disagree. It's so good. It's just the best. It's the iconic one that everyone remembers. It's at the top of the menu screen. It's the one that was featured in all the press and marketing coverage of not just Wii Sports, but of the Wii in general.
All I do is throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez. And there goes the tennis racket.
And there is absolutely a reason for that. It's just so perfectly natural. Anyone can pick up and play it, which is the case with most of the sports in Wii Sports, but there's still just something about tennis that is just so simple and natural. Even a skibbity toilet baby like you could do it. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. It definitely feels like it is at first, but the more you progress and the higher skill level opponent you have to face, you realize that there is a lot more going on under the surface here that you have to figure out. These opponents can be pretty punishing, and there's a real learning curve to a lot of aspects in the game, especially trying to get the perfect timing of your shot down so that you just get that absolutely spot on placement. But let me tell you, when you start getting that consistently, when you start absolutely crushing every opponent that comes your way, you feel like a god. I actually think I could go pro. I think I could go pro at tennis. It can't be that much more. I think it's really the game in Wii Sports that I feel the most ownership over my skill of, and maybe that's because it's the one I'm best at, but I feel like I'm the best at it because I've worked hard at it, I've played it a lot, and I feel like I've really improved as a player, and god, I need to get out more. But it's my favourite, it's everyone I've asked's favourite. I'm willing to bet it's your favourite. If it's not your favourite, it's your second favourite. I would put money on that. Don't take me up on that. So before really throwing myself back into Wii Sports for this video for the first time in years, I had completely forgotten that the training modes existed, which is wild because they're really good and a genuinely crucial part of the game. I've already touched on the boxing one, so I'm not going to really go back into that again. I will just say that it's probably my favorite in the game. It absolutely rules, closely followed by bowling. Especially this one where you have to knock down as many pins as you can in a series of frames that increase to absurdity in size. It rules, it's so satisfying. This is great, this is great fun, it's almost a game in and of itself. Tennis ones are pretty shallow but a fair bit of fun. I'd say the same about the golf ones, but far and away the most infuriating ones are the baseball ones. I probably hit a good one once every like 4 pitches. And when you've got that like completionist itch in you that wants to get gold or platinum in every single one of these training modes, and you have just the impossible challenge of being good at baseball, that doesn't make sense. That shouldn't be a thing. But because this game grades you on how you do in each one of these training modes, it adds like a whole new layer to this game. It adds so much depth and quality to this free game. At the end of the day, that's the thing about Wii Sports, is that while you could technically buy it separately, it came with just pretty much most Wiis. But despite that, it's just such a polished and complete experience in every single aspect, down to things that if they weren't there, you wouldn't notice. It wouldn't matter. But they're there because it would be good if they were. There's just so much care and attention to this, maybe the most care and attention that's ever gone into a pack-in game for a console. We've never really seen something like this before or since. I'd say the closest thing that comes to the level of ubiquity that Wii Sports has is something like Tetris. But again, that's on a bunch of different systems. You can get it on your phone, computer, PlayStation 4, or 5. Whereas the Wii Sports is like just on one system, and it became like I think it changed everything. Say what you will about the fact that motion controls became, but I really do not think that we would have stuff like the Nintendo Switch's remote-like controllers, or VR controllers, or VR in general. We just simply would not see stuff like that today without the innovations that were made with the Wii, and were not just promoted, but made mainstream with Wii Sports. It's not just a gimmick. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime game that we will never see something the same as again. I love it. You love it. We love it. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like it if you have, and subscribe if you're new around here and want to support the channel. Check out all our links in the description, but most importantly, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.